Okay, abutin be makwaba sonko so e de ba POG Media so. Yembonra eye yense. John Dramani Mahama oda eye the ministers na chese wa appoint you no or say obia in declare eye ne assets ansana chese wa she ne dwuma ase e wo ne officer John Dramani Mahama ene ne chief of staff eye Julius Debra omo eni abraj omo dey say warning Akroma ne appointment na chese we choose ni say obia enye de in declare ne asset e magana for ehun ansana omo ahye adwuma ase abusia enye easy kra yense emumre ne yebepese ebe me abiafo ne me akọ na yakwakoti ensema ekos na ansana ebekono wo ensem kan bi afahye the comment section like na share ma afofo so ensa into me enkebi aha POG Media so
we must before the swearing in, and I'm hoping that the president will ensure that this is done with the next batch of ministers. Well, so that's a point where people you made, correct?
It's in Article 286 says that before you take office, it's not after. So listen, it says 286 clause 1. It says a person who holds a public office mentioned in clause 5 of this article shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all property or assets owned by or liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly. Then I'll go straight. So within 3 months after the coming into force of this constitution, which doesn't apply here, or before taking office, as the case may be, or before taking office. So the president cannot give a different timeline. You see, the confusion is from the asset, the one that Parliament passed, Act 55, is it 8, right. The number there, 560, so yes. In that one, they stated 6 months. And we are saying that even Article 1 of the Constitution says that the Constitution is the superior law. So if you find any provision in any other law which contradicts the Constitution takes precedence. So it doesn't lie with the president respectfully to give any extra timeline. It says that so Article 1, Clause 2, it says this Constitution shall be the supreme law of Ghana, and any other law found to be inconsistent with any provision of this Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. That's it.
Okay.
So it says it shall be void. So please, let them do it before. What does it take? And the Auditor General has enough staff to be able to cater to these ministers before they take office, so that would show that we are really prepared. And most especially, it's not just the declaration. Remember that at this table, Mary Addo, Samson Ladia, it's Alfredo, cancel yourself. We also latter day since joined you guys. You guys started this since before we came in. We all joined CDD also in the 2000s, right? Everybody's saying that let's have publication of this declaration as we used to do in the PNDC era. That was the law. You know, I've come here with examples, okay, of asset declaration done by PV Obey, Totobi Kwachi, or Mary Grant, or the appointees in the past. So we just want to go back there because this current system is opaque. And we've shown how other countries, right?
Right.
Okay, Gov't, Mauritius, South Africa, etc., they do. Of course, the UK and US you would expect. So we want to have even a better system than them, because that's what Akuffo promised last year, 2023, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And then he repeated it last year, but he never came around to
deliver it. This was at the
bar
conference, eh?
Yes, both bar conferences. And it's even the IMF, agreement. It's one of the conditionalities, and that's one of my problems with the IMF. Instead of them to have made that the first precondition, they've left it. Because, and you see why people say these Bretton Woods institutions, they are part of our problems. They are a great part of the problem. You know that, look, corruption is our biggest problem. When you are putting a conditionality, make it number one. Do you see that even they were more interested in the amendment of the Bank of Ghana Act than the Code of Conduct? Meanwhile, this is our first problem, because from independence, every coup d'etat, you see corruption cited in it. Every coup d'etat, you see that the new government says the old one was corrupt. And every election we've had since 92, every time you see that corruption ranks very high. So if IMF, you are negotiating a contract with Ghana, knowing that one should be the first deliverable, that let's amend this law. The IMF wasn't strong enough, or they deliberately chose not to do so, because we were on our knees. If you had made that the first precondition, the government would have had no alternative. But they made it weak. They didn't insist on it. And 2 years after the IMF agreement, we are still struggling.
Right. Well, and this is why Madam Shamima Muslim, the deputy presidential spokesperson for President John Dramani Mahama, is here with us in the studio. Shami, good morning.
Good morning to you, Alfred.
And a happy new year. Welcome.
Thank you. It's my first time on the show, so I'm happy to be here.
And a proper welcome indeed. Yes, this is actually her first time on the program.
But you didn't welcome women voices on this your show when you started. Yeah. But secret, I was to have been the first host of this show.
Indeed. So you see how time flies and how things have just changed. But welcome.
Thank you, and good morning to all your viewers as well.
Perfect. We're going to have a response to what Olayama Tikpebo has said. But let me do this quickly. Let's go to Nairobi now. My colleague Komla Kloche is our presidential affairs correspondent. He's in Nairobi. The president is yet to leave the jurisdiction, but the media is going ahead of him. Komla, thank you so much for connecting with us. Now, first off, you just give us a sneak preview into the itinerary of the president in the next few hours ahead of us.
Well, John Mahama is expected to join several African leaders on the continent as part of a high-level meeting where they are going to be discussing the reforms within the African Union organization. We are aware since 2016, the African Union has really done some amount of work to be able to get reforms done to position it to, for want of a better word, being quite at par or maybe quite close to, for instance, the United Nations. This is quite a Herculean task, but what it means for the African leaders who are going to be gathering in Nairobi, Kenya, is to the effect that they want institutional reforms where the African Union would be able to position itself, one, to take care of its own finances, and also be able to deal with issues that border the various countries that find itself within the union, for instance, peace and security. The leaders are really looking forward to ensuring that the African Union stands on its own. But this is one that is also being championed by the president of Kenya, William Ruto, who is the chairman of the AU Reforms Committee. And he is counting most especially on John Mahama, who has a vast experience, one as an ex-ECOWAS chair, and also a leader who is highly respected to be able to attain this. What it means for them is to tap into the experience of John Mahama, who quite recently at his inauguration brought together over 20 African leaders and representatives across the continent to his inauguration. To the extent that he's been able to do this and also bring leaders who quote unquote have been ostracized from the ECOWAS, for instance, Burkina Faso and Guinea and the likes, but there appears to be some readiness in working with these countries. It means that there is a certain path that John Mahama is trying to chart where the leaders think that it is important that they equally tap into it. And so William Ruto and the rest of the leaders on the continent are hoping to count on the experience of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in Kenya to be able to look at these reforms. And the reforms, like I did indicate, would also be able to position the AU to the extent that they can stand firm on their own. Quite recently, William Ruto made the point where the Afri-Exim Bank, for instance, who are a part or a creation of the African Union, called on him and regrettably indicated that they do not even feel part of the African Union because of the structure and the organogram. But it is the expectation that they are able to bring all of these together and champion these reforms so that they can collectively stand firm and be able to address the challenges that bedevil the continent.
All right, Komla, thank you very much for this, and really appreciate the feedback on and also how things are going to play out in the next few hours ahead of us. Komla Kluche is our presidential affairs correspondent in Nairobi, ahead of the arrival of the president, who's also scheduled to visit that country, and all the details Komla gave to us, and then also the indication that Phyllis Kwachofosu also gave to us earlier. Komla, I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much.
Let me also do same by saying hearty congratulations to Shamima. I've known Shamima. She's been an activist from our days in school. I think we're all members of the SRC's General Assembly.
Yes.
And she was a very vocal, young, beautiful lady. Those days, Shamima, we all looked up to her. I mean, but she was, those days, she belonged to the top ladies. That you'll be eyeing for. But you know that you don't have what it takes to even talk to her. But so she's been an activist from those days up to now. So I'm excited she's joined government. Very articulate, erudite, objective, level-headed person. And so I know that you bring all the rich experience you've garnered up your sleeve to bear in helping this government govern in a manner that will justify the huge goodwill and mandate we've given to them.
Thank you so much. I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
A woman of few words.
Since you started, I think we should all,
So we just simply, I would say simply, I concur, so that we manage the time.
Well, I would say this is the first time I'm meeting her. I'm meeting you in person. Congratulations, and we wish you all the best.
Yeah.
And where you are. I think when you were SRC and all that, some of us had left a long time ago.
Right.
So
always telling us
I am doing that because of
Let him finish.
always telling us
So that we move on.
Let me also just take a minute
so
to
congratulations,
thank you.
and where
Thank
you are,
so
I think
much. Yes.
we wish you all the best.
Thank you so very much. I mean, it's a very great honor done me, and I think that I'd like to just use a few moments to express my deep gratitude to God Almighty, because He is indeed the author of all of our lives, and I'm thankful for the grace and mercies He has had, and for this moment in my history. And of course, to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for this appointment. It's a profound one, and from the depths of my heart, I express my deepest gratitude to him and his spouse, my dear mother, Lordina Mahama, for the love, support, the mentorship, and for this opportunity, to the rank and file of the party, for the confidence that was reposed in me in the lead up to the elections, and all the various opportunities that were granted to me to offer my service to the party, a party that I love, a party that I was born in, a party that I am deeply in tune with the ideology, and so I am very grateful. I am also most especially grateful to my husband, Alhaji Al-Hassan Gwangu, as he's popularly called, for the love, the support, the sacrifice, the encouragement. I think for us women in politics, especially married women, your spouse, you're not going to go any far. And if I'm here and sitting here today in this position, I owe him a debt of gratitude. My big sister, Haja Limata, the entire family, children, my parents, for the sacrifices you have made and for which I sit today as the beneficiary of that grace. Right. Sometimes it's not just by your might, but by the sacrifices that the people who love you have made in the past, that you happen to be in a position to enjoy them. So I thank you all very much, and thank you to my various communities, to the Zongo community, to the Northern community, to my colleague women. I know that we will do our best to represent as much as we can all these multiple communities. To my Wala people, Yabarka Yagaja, Aninya Numbo Ninya support. To all of them, I say thank you.
It's for the greater good. And thank you as well for coming. And this is going to be a regular feature of you.
As my boss has already said, yes, we will definitely be coming on, yes.
So that the next time you won't accuse me. Anyway, but there are a number of things that Matipebo raised. And just a quick response to it, because we'll move on to other issues. Professor Ransford Jampo said a couple of things on what Mr. Felix Akuffo also said as well. So just a quick one on what Felix, Lawyer Martin Pebo said about the asset declaration and what he expects of the president and the appointees, the next batch of ministers to do, quickly.
For me, right, I think that the Honorable Felix has spoken quite extensively on what the issues are, and over the years, I think that the challenges and the gaps that the legislation provides have been largely spoken about, the issues of the lack of transparency in it, what exactly is in the assets that have been declared, and what's the purpose of declaring asset that no one has the opportunity to verify and validate. So if you take a look at all of that, there is germane interest in reviewing that, asset declaration regime. The second issue that has come up is also an extension of who should the law cover. As it stands now, I think it covers just the appointee or the public officer in question, the spouse, the children, the relatives, which, as we know, are agents that often, also take upon the ownership of assets, on behalf of the particular public official. Right. So an expansion of that regime to include all those that are politically exposed to the appointee is also something we need to look at if we are proposing reforms of it. And so I would say that the committee that has been set up to look at the areas of the Constitution that require strengthening should also make very viable suggestions on how we strengthen our current asset declaration regime. But at the bottom line is just integrity in leadership. And I keep saying that one of the major things that differentiates the NDC from the New Patriotic Party, especially in this last election, was the character of the NPP regime. And so if we say we are different, we must be seen to be different. And to be seen to be different, we must do the things that we have spoken about as some of the ills of the New Patriotic Party. We must avoid those same pitfalls, and we must work with conscience, with integrity, with fellow feeling, not forgetting, the people who gave us this job. I said that if you took a look at the levels of poverty across the length and breadth of this country, and you go into all these villages, these hamlets, and people turn up in their numbers, in the rain, in the sun. In fact, they stand in the sun for several hours just to welcome you. And that's the only opportunity they ever get to be in close contact with anybody from the center. I said they are the better humans because with so little, they give us so much. Today, we sit here in, various positions that we will be paid for, catered for, and yet that old woman who was in some village in, Buchegu, who had no access to potable water remains. So please, let us know that we are working for the interest of the Ghanaian, and we must avoid corruption, excessive profiteering lifestyles that we can't justify. Let's remember our political ethos as, a social democratic government, and be truly egalitarian, where all of us matter, and we spread the opportunities and spread the resources as far and wide as we should, so that everybody would benefit from the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So I think that's what
have you declared your assets, or you're in the process of doing that?
I'm in the process of doing that as well. Because I was just named recently. So, and I think that
okay, abusia wene ensema ekoso our political highway. So President Mahama and the Chief of Staff omo ana HSA omo kache omo ministers na just appoint omo eno na lawyer Martin Kegu ede ehonsem ebetu dan abusia beda masese mo jepene properties are oduwe edimai aha POG Media so beda masese